What's up, Will? We're back on
What's
the
going
show.
on? I
It's
know we're back.
yeah, back with the boys.
I'm back. I feel like I've to be fair, I've been fairly busy with life stuff, so it's kind of good to be. But I feel like it was a little break with Scale stuff. But we've just had the Worlds Warmup, so we
Yeah,
do have something to talk about that feel like I can say a thing or two about.
that's good. We have a lot to talk about. Keenan's not here, so there might be a tangent or two. But
It'll be another 4 hour
I'm behind the
episode,
wheel,
everyone.
so
So
yeah. So better get to rolling that intro.
Nitro is the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bill. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right. And let's get back to more club racing and less of this grabbing racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right.
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant nuts.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Leslie the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 bill. Oh no!
I like this.
All right. We're back in the show. I don't know what happened with the intro. It felt like the audio was out of sync. I hope
Yeah.
I hope that was only on my end. I don't know about that, but we're back in the game. We're here with Will. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Keenan always starts this. Nitro is the glory, all that stuff. That's his thing. I'm here to talk about RC. I haven't had a chance in a while. I don't know if you have. It's been a while since you was on the show too.
Yeah, I think the last one was the EOS show. So I don't think we did the MK one or anything. I think the 8's girl season just went into full swing after that. So Keenan did his thing.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on as well. So good that we're back. But before we get going, as Keenan says, we got to pay some bills. First off, thank you to our title sponsor, J Concepts. And this whole show this year is brought to you by J Concepts, as they are our title sponsor. Then thank you to our premium level sponsors, Hightech RCD, Sidewinder Fuels, Latera Racing, Invisible Speed, ML Toys, and Sidepiece Racing. And thank you as well to our other sponsors, Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Racecraft USA, and of course, Clinic RC. And we also have some official no-name RC drivers. This was Keenan's dream when he was a little boy. I don't know how little he was, but he had the mind of a little boy. So when he was reading those RC magazines and seeing those cool guys, he wanted to be friends with them, and that's why for this podcast he has tried to invite his friends over and make them official NNRC drivers, and he's been very successful at that. We have quite a few. David Ronnefolk, Robert Batty, Alex Hagberg. He's a big Star Wars fan, as Keenan is. We all know that. Matty G, Pekko and Jona, and Mason Fuller. Those are official NNRC drivers. Thank you, guys, for flying the NNRC flag. And, we've been thanking a lot of people, but the biggest thanks always goes to the people who support us and watch us and so on. Especially thank you to the NNRC squads the patrons as well as the YouTube members. It's a big thing that we have this following, and we can keep doing this stuff that you enjoy, but also that we are able to do this. All right. We have no shout outs other than that. No birthdays. Do you have any birthdays you could tell? I don't really have any.
No, I don't think I have any birthdays, so at least not as far as I'm aware, and there was anyone. Sorry.
Yeah. So no birthdays. But yeah, let's get going to the catch up. And before that, as we said, J Concepts, this year's title sponsor. Thank you to J Concepts, and it's a big thing to be partnering up with them. Big honor to be partner up with J Concepts. All right, now to our catch up. As we said, we're back here with the boys. It's just me and you. I don't know. Can we just say we're the boys? This is the episode 315, the boys.
The boys. That's us. And we also don't have. Well, we don't have the old man here. That's giving you the watermelon seed. So no restrictions over here either. So we can just we can just do whatever we want. But Keenan will be cursing if he was here in spirit. He'll be cursing us the whole way through.
I know. I bet that he's sending us WhatsApp messages that, are you guys still going? Is it going to be 4 hours again? Because he's been stressing out about the editing, because he still does the editing work here. So, the longer the podcast, the more work for him. But, yeah, that's what you got to do for the premium content. Am I right?
And we got to bring out the content for the people. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. As we spoke about before, it's been a while since you've been on the podcast. A lot has happened since then. Probably MKGP, one of the biggest races you've attended. Has there been any other things that you've had?
Well, really, at least for us guys in the UK, MK was kind of the last carpet race. After that, everything kind of went. Now everyone's transitioning into the outdoor season. So, as everyone knows, in the UK, we only really race on AstroTurf. So, but I mean, although it seems quiet, I know every single driver's basically gone down to Hearts. We have our first national coming up next weekend, so everyone's gone down to Hearts to basically practice like every week. So obviously no one's posting about it, so it looks like no one's doing anything, but a lot of people have been practicing. But yeah, I mean, race-wise, nothing really, just MKGP and then just going to nationals and then like Euros later on and then Worlds. But obviously we're here to talk about the warm-up, but I don't know if you have anything else from... I don't know, I think it's all been 8 scale, to be honest, from at least in the last 2-3 months, really, hasn't it been?
Yeah. I feel like, we got the DNC, obviously, and then PMB on top of the 10 scale Worlds Warmup. And then, there's been a lot of races in between that people attend. It's been very 8 scale focused, and I think that's kind of the thing that, a lot of people after Christmas, that's kind of the break time. And that's the time where 10 scale is the only thing we can talk about. Because for some reason, the 10 scale guys, they race all year round. But 8 scale, they really, really have a break over the Christmas times. Have you already had a 10 scale nats in the UK? Do you still have indoor rounds?
So 10 scale nationals are all outdoors. I don't think there's a rule that it has to be outdoors, but I think traditionally it's kind of been an unspoken rule that it should be outdoors on AstroTurf. But I mean, there's a lot, I guess, kind of segments into the Worlds, but there has been a lot of talk, in the UK are people really wanting to get back on dirt again. I saw maybe it was Johnny Skidmore. I think he put a post up saying, "Why don't we race on dirt?" And it had a load of comments. And I mean, I'm all for it 100%. I always think 10 scale should just be on dirt, even though I don't race on it that much. But I think it's just the UK with our weather is just it's so bad. It just isn't practical.
Yeah.
We have one track that hosted the 2015 Euros RHR dirt, and like a lot of us are always like, why don't you guys just, host an event and get it going again? But I think people underestimate how much effort goes into it. UK, like hosting a race is almost more of a voluntary job, while in other countries, maybe like the States, it's kind of a business, so you can justify the cost and getting and paying people. But in the UK, it's just not the same. And I think they did try to get a cover, but I think the local council, I might be wrong here, but I think the local council is like, you can't do it, even though it's their land. I don't know how that works. But in short, we really want a dirt track. Just, I don't know if it's a case of renting something out, but who knows? Maybe who knows what the future holds? It would be great though, 100%.
Yeah, it's very similar story here in Finland. It's winter for most of the year, and then in the summer it rains pretty much every third day. So we used to have all tracks dirt, but then one track went Astro, and then kind of people realized how easy it was, so everyone went Astro. So even Vaz, the track that held the 2011 Worlds, even that, one of the most famous dirt tracks in the world, that's gone to Astro. I think they started last year. I think the track should be finished already. So they fully transitioned into Astro now. Yeah. I think that's about it for our catch up. Lots of 10 scale now in this podcast. We try to focus most on that. We have a few 8 scale races we're gonna quickly have a little take on, but then we'll try to spend most of that time with the 10 scale world. I think that's what we most enjoy here with the boys.
With the boys.
All right. Let's move on to the high-tech RC news. Obviously brought to you by High-Tech RC. Looking for a top-tier performance and reliability in your RC setup? High-Tech RCD has you covered with industry-leading chargers, servos for both surface and air applications. Whether you're bashing, racing, or taking to the skies, High-Tech's advanced technology delivers precision, power, and durability when you need it most. From high-torque servos to smart, efficient charging solutions, trust High-Tech to keep you in control. High-Tech, powering passion, elevating performance. Visit hightechrc.com today. Thank you for High-Tech for sponsoring the podcast. I'm repping High-Tech as well. Really with their servos. I would say I've never had as high quality servos as these are. So really happy to be representing them myself as well. So I added to our notes. We're not going to move into news straight away because I've noticed that there's a line, the RC world, everything that's kind of in any way not confirmed by a manufacturer, that's apparently drama. Okay. So I don't want to call it news because, I guess it's not news. It's investigative journalism or what would you like to call it? So I've given it the name silly news. Okay. So it's kind of like silly season, but when it happens during the season, it's news. So it's silly news. Okay. You get it. And this is about the debacle with Ogden and Sparko. To be honest, for me, I kind of expected something to go wrong when I heard that Ogden joined Sparko, but I was like, sure, let's see how it goes. And when it happened, I was not surprised at all. And how it went down, to be honest, I wasn't surprised at all at how the parties responded to it. But yeah, pretty much what happened, just a recap of this, because we kind of have gotten to the closing of this saga. So I'll just recap it quickly for the people out there. So from spark to flames at Sparko, Ogden really, I don't know now what happened. It's been discussed. You can go back to the podcast, but clearly there was a big mismatch between Cole and the team manager. And there was apparently been some name calling from, I don't know from which side, but it was not a very happy ending, and Ogden left with doors banging. Then Lee Setzer's spark died at AE, and Sparko picked it up and lit him back up. And this turned out to be a really good move for Lee, because just a week ago, BMB finished second in Truggy, made all 3 mains. So definitely a very good bounce back from DNC and first race with a new brand. And now we look at the state of Sparko. They had 2 cars in the main at PMB, 3 cars in the main in e-buggy as well. So 2 in nitro classes. So, there was some spark, then there was some flames, but the Spark's doing well. Ogden said Spark no, but Sparko is still going strong. Okay. And Ogden, he had a decent PMB, made a few mains with the Mugen, from what I'm hearing. And seems like he's doing all right. Haven't heard anything bad from that side right now. And the word on the street is that Cole is headed to S-Works. So to me, this looks like a very happy ending in a way. There was this spark, it lit up a flame, things got bad. Ogden said spark no. Sparko said, let's keep the spark alive. They hired a new guy, Lee Setzer. Wilson doing great. Jones doing pretty good as well. And now Lee as a new guy, he's looking solid, And Ogden looks like he's getting into terms with things. He's looking like he's headed to a new home at S-Works. Not confirmed, pure speculation. As I said, this is silly news. Okay. But I feel like this is such a happy ending for everyone. Like, I don't know. Okay, Cole maybe probably doesn't get paid as much from S-Works as he did from Spark Pro. So from his side, yeah. But then again, clearly he wouldn't have liked to stay at Sparko hearing like how it ended. So I don't think he would have been happy marriage there. And I feel like this kind of like both got the best of everything. So, positive, silly news of the day. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I was quite surprised. I don't know what happened with Lee. I'm honestly completely clueless on it. So, but I know he's a long-time associated driver. I met him at Hobby Action at the Worlds. Really nice guy. So I guess from an associated standpoint, obviously, it's a bit of a shame to, after someone being with a team for so long, to part ways. But I mean, I guess he had the reasons for it. So, but I mean, it looks like I was always a little bit skeptical about Sparko. So but they're kind of like proving, well, I don't say proving me wrong, but it looks like their car seems pretty good and they're growing their team. Even here in the UK, we've got a few drivers going well with them. But I mean, obviously to see, looking at the notes here, I promise I'm not looking at something random. But yeah, second in Truggy, and then making the main all 3 classes. Like, it's obviously really positive. And kind of Cole, I kind of got the impression, I mean, obviously I don't pay attention to 8 scale as much as, or as closely as 10 scale, but like, I kind of got the impression that Cole, after the Spain Worlds, that was kind of going to be it for him. Maybe I read his post wrong, but that's kind of what I got. So it looked like when he got into Sparko, kind of ignited something back there again. And it looks like what happened. Yeah, no pun intended. But it looks like what happened, and now I guess it kind of makes sense to go to Sparko. I think he had some support through BHRC before. I'm assuming. So, and then maybe Brent Densford as well. I know he kind of doesn't. I know he distributes S-Works, but I don't know if he has some sort of team manager side to that. But maybe obviously he had a word to play in it. So maybe I think S-Works would be a good move for him as well. The S-Works cars, and especially like with Boots and Canas, it looks like it's really getting, like, it's starting to be almost one of the platforms to have. So I think it's I guess you could say in the end it's kind of a happy ending for those two in a way. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'd say on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it like there was drama. Sure, there was drama, and reported on what happened. People got mad at us, but I think in the end, like it went pretty well. Like for everyone, it went pretty well. Like so, it's a happy ending in my books. And for anyone in the comments who got closest to the amount of Sparko puns I made is gonna win. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna win. They're not gonna win nothing, but it's a friendly competition. So try to count those up. And you're gonna count in that one Willamate too. I'm pretty sure he intended it.
It counts. Spark. Yeah, it was. There was always a spark. So here's another one.
Yeah. All right. Now moving from the little sparks and the Sparko news to the real news. I don't know why Keenan told us to talk about it. To be honest, I'm tired of talking about this. It has two letters. If you look at a keyboard, it's like a J and an N next to them on the left side. That's the company's initials. So anyone who is watching this on a laptop or a phone, you can just check what that means. They are experiencing major shortages in parts, and there has been already some. Well, they released a press release about this, so this is public news. So don't shoot me now, please. Okay, you already shot Keenan in Facebook when he showed this. So okay, so obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that we're talking about HP. As we spoke at the beginning of this year, HP or Nidard SA, or I think it was just Nidard, went bankrupt. Orion Europe, or whatever that company is called, bought the assets, or all the assets were moved under Orion SA, and that has now announced that they are restructuring the company further, and changes. And here's Philip's comment: changes will affect every level of the company structure and operational business, and they would like to apologize in advance for the upcoming shortages. I don't know. It's basically just that they've had some challenges when they have restructured, and it looks like there's going to be shortages on the HP side. I don't know, to be honest. I'm kind of happy that they say this outright, that this is what's going to happen. But pretty much they said that you can still be on the team, but you won't get parts because we don't have parts. So that's kind of they sent obviously a different one inside their team Facebook group, or whatever group it was. They sent a different announcement targeted specifically for the team, but the outcome of that was pretty much that, we don't have anything to give you, but you can still be part of the team if you want. I don't know what to say about this. It sucks for HP. I don't wish any company to go bankrupt. Obviously, I have high dislike for the way they have done business recently with cease and desists and attempted lawsuits and so on and so on. But apart from that, I don't wish that, they're restructuring. HP is still a decent car. I wish they would be fine, but looks like if you're an HP driver, probably should consider either stocking up or whatever you have, or then switching brands altogether if you want to have stuff with you. What do you think of this, Will?
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, HPI were like one of the brands I almost kind of like when I was growing up, HPI, I remember seeing them and they were a really cool brand and they had really good cars back then. I remember when, Andy Moore and, who's Asushi Hara was racing for them like back in the day. And, they kind of, I remember them being really popular back in the day, and I know they kind of split the ready to run side and the race side. And I guess, it seems a little bit rough at the moment, I guess, in the nicest way. So it's a shame to lose. I guess you could say it'll be a shame if we lose another RC brand in the industry, especially with the climate. I mean, that's a whole kettle of fish in itself, just the whole world as it is at the moment. But yeah, it'll be a shame if it goes fully under. But yeah, they've always had good cars. But I think I personally don't know too much about the whole situation. So all I can say is just a bit of a shame at the moment. So hopefully, but I hope they'll maybe get back on their feet. But I guess only time will tell, really.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think it will be very tough to gain back the credibility after all of what's gone down. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they could sort of ride out with the pod success in the future too, if restructuring goes well. From what I've understood, the manufacturing chain of HP has not been that good. So there's been close to 20 different suppliers for some specific sections of the car. Obviously that's hearsay, so I don't know for a fact, but from what I've understood, the supply chain has had issues for a while, but now obviously with the liquidation of assets and restructuring, it's probably going to be more difficult. All right. Now we have two sort of these drama news, and they are, I think this is now done. We don't have to talk about Ogden and Sparko ever again, Maybe we have to talk about Ogden and S-Works. Who knows? Maybe that's the next one that comes up. I don't think we have to talk about Sparko much more in the future, apart from like decent race results, because that's what it's looking like they're getting. And I don't think we're going to have to be worrying about this HP thing for a while. It looks like they're preparing for... It's probably going to be no parts for at least this year for HP. So I doubt that things will get much worse from here now. So unless they owe someone money that we don't know of. But apart from that, like, I don't even know how we could get anywhere. So I think, we have the dramas calmed down. Okay. And finally, there's something that people have been waiting for. I don't even know how long people have been waiting for these. I think it's 9 months already. Maybe, hey, this is like JQ's baby. Took 9 months to get out. And I think that's what's going on here. So Invisible Speed finally shipping their setup station. Invisible Speed is one of our long-time sponsors on the show, title sponsor even last year, and this is sort of been JQ's big project. I already saw people saying, "Oh, it looks the same as the hoodie setup station," but in fact, this is actually much better, and I'll shortly explain why. But looks really cool. Very similar, like it's a setup station, that's not, you can't make it look much different than any setup station. Then you have the plate, measure your toe in, toe out, drew blocks, drew measure guide, and the plates of the setup station itself. They also made a set for Davide Ongaro. I think it was at the Worlds when he won. He had the Invisible book with him, Invisible Speed book with him. So pretty cool. And so they gave him a world champion set. Yeah. Looks cool.
It was pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah. Get yourself one, and so on. And now to the part why I think these are better than other setup stations. Well, number one is it comes with 2 of these. So instead of usually setup station comes with 4, which jacks up the price to, I don't even know how much the hoodie setup station costs. an RO Max setup stations, but it's hundreds of dollars per setup station. This one only comes with 2. Why does it come with 2? That's because you can put the tires on the other end. Why have 4 of these where you could just have the tires on the other end, check one end of the car, then put the tires on the other end, check the other end of the car. That's how I've been doing it anyway. When with the setup station I've had, borrowed from JQ. So, yeah. So that's for price aspect. That's a one selling point. Another really, really cool thing about this is, I don't really know, can you guys see this? But this bottom here is supported by bearings. So the lower plate, or the plate that stands up and shows you how much camber you have. For example, the hoodie station as well as the RO Max station, both of them have just the metal here. So when you try to measure your camber when when you try to measure how much steering angle you have and how much camber you have at the sort of, or bump steer you have at the different suspension movements and different wheel alignment, so how much steering lock you have, that setup station that don't have these bearings here in the bottom will stick to the board a bit. They will affect your results, which, you can't get reliable results of that. So you effectively can't measure that aspect of it. Well, that has solved it here. It also has bearings on the bottom, on the side. So these are totally like movable on your setup board. But that's a one sort of big bonus I think people miss, that with this setup station, you could be able to measure your bump steer effectively, but the current ones on the market, they don't allow you to do that because they don't have the bearings. Other than that, it's pretty similar. Additionally, though, I'm pretty sure the other brands don't have as much range on the toe-in plate. So this is another sort of benefit of this, that you have the ability to measure your steering lock. It's very beneficial when you're trying to actually tune your car so that nothing changes. So small changes. If you look at this with naked eye, you're not going to realize what's better about this. But when you know how to use the setup station, when you start to use this one, there's actually a lot of benefits. So I suggest, if you haven't picked up one up, I think this is definitely the best one out there on the market. And I don't know how much it costs, to be honest, but I know for a fact that it comes with 2, so I do expect it to be competitive in pricing. What you think of, Will? Have you ever used a setup station?
Only once when I did a GT12 race, but as a lot of my friends will know, I'm not really the best with. I'm okay with setup, and I don't normally go to the extent of using a setup station. But maybe this is the turning point for me. Maybe I need to order one and get one up. So maybe that's the key. Maybe that's what I'm missing in my race program, is a setup station.
Yeah, and I've been talking about this a lot in the past. Do you really need a setup station? And the thing is, like, if you're a decent level driver, but you are really good at, setting everything up, let's say a really good mechanic, and you are not like a very, very top level driver and your car is kind of worn out and all of that anyway, in that scenario, probably you don't need one. Okay. But if you're a medium driver and you're a medium mechanic, setup station is like your biggest friend. Because every time some guy comes up to me like, hey, can you fix my car? Like, I would like some help with setup. I always say, like, give me the car so I can take a look at it. And obviously I have quite a bit of experience of how an 8-scale car should look. And just by seeing what the angles the tires are, I know immediately that that's not how it should look. So for me, sure, I don't need the setup station to realize that. But for that guy, if he had the setup station and he put in the measurements that reads in the setup sheet, that would never be an issue. That would never happen. So it's kind of like you have to make sure that it's correct, and the only way to make sure is with a setup station. And even I, like, let's say mid race day, do I always put in the setup station on? No, I don't. JQ does that. Does it make a difference? Yes, it does, a slight difference. But I've driven for long enough, and I know how I set up my camera, and I set it up exactly the same every single time. And I have a method of doing it, so I know how it goes. But that's a work of 15 years of experience. Not a lot of guys have that. And also, like, even if you have 15 years of experience, it doesn't mean that you have 15 years experience of doing things right. And even before every single race, I check that everything's correct. And then during the day, if I change something, I always check with the setup station. So yeah, I highly suggest getting one. If you are like in any way complaining about how your car handles and thinking of switching cars and spending money, I'd rather spend money on setup station first before considering buying a different car. That's my take on it.
Yeah,
But 10
definitely.
scale,
I mean,
I don't know. It's not very popular.
It's not, and I think we could benefit from it. I guess like the argument people always make is, it's off-road, your car's never going to be truly flat, even on carpet. Like, well, maybe carpet like is more critical than anything. Well, I mean, but like, I think it's like obviously making sure your car is set up and all the fundamentals are like bang on is so important. It can make and break your car. So like, it's probably, I mean, for sure, it's definitely something that I definitely think it would be a benefit to anyone's race program to add one and make sure like your car is like absolutely solid in everything when you're setting it up.
Yeah. Maybe this is a turning point for you, Will, as well. Maybe you'll get one now after my
maybe
speech.
I need to maybe I need to speak to JQ. I've actually never spoken to him, so and maybe I need to drop him a message and see if he'll give me one or I'll buy one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're coming out with a 10 scale version as well, at least for touring cars. I don't know if they're gonna do the 10 scale off road yet. But I know touring car one is coming. I hope it's not going to be as long as this one was. But yeah, for now, we don't have any more news. It was quite a slow news month, would you say? A lot of races, not a lot of news. We had some gossip in the end. I don't know if you can call it gossip, but maybe some spy shots and so on. There's some interesting stuff, but we decided to save that for the end. And we're not going to timestamp it either. So you're going to have to find it yourself. It could be anywhere in this podcast. So you have to watch
it. Could be anywhere.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think after silly season, it kind of, I guess everyone started to get into their new teams and sponsors or whatever. But yeah, anyway, next onto the next section.
Yeah. No, but you're right, though, that silly season is like news every day. And then after that, it's almost nothing. So, yeah. Moving on to past races, we're going to go through a few races we had in the past 2 weeks. This segment of the podcast is brought to you by Sidepiece Racing and Latera Racing. Starting with Sidepiece Racing, elevate your RC experience with sidepiece-racing.com. North America's exclusive distributor for top-tier brands like Automatics, Roche, Wild Turbofan, Montec Racing, Corsatec, Phoenix Racing, and Willspeed. Whether you're seeking precision-engineered car kits, high-performance batteries, or aerodynamic bodies, we've got you covered. Enjoy fast shipping and exceptional customer service, ensuring you'll get the best gear when you need it. Visit sidepiece-racing.com today and race ahead of the competition. Thank you to Sidepiece Racing for sponsoring the podcast. One of the most versatile online shops, especially for on-road stuff, as well as some off-road stuff in the North America. Definitely worth a check out if you live in the region and enjoy good on-road stuff. Then to the other sponsor, Latera Racing. Step up your RC racing with Latera Racing, one of Sweden's premier hobby shops and track dedicated to racers. Featuring top brands like X-Ray, Hobbywing, Zoo Racing, Team Coyote, we provide you everything you need. From From precision chassis to high performance electronics, whether you're at the track or upgrading your setup, Latera Racing caters to racers who demand the best. Visit latera.se or stop by our shop and track for the ultimate RC experience. Latera Racing, built for winners. Thank you to Latera Racing as well. A hobby shop in Europe, Northern Europe rather. I think this year they've started to ship internationally as well. Definitely go check out their store. Lots of great deals. Even I've bought stuff from there when I went to Sweden. And great guys as well. We got to meet Kim and those guys at the Worlds. So go check out both of these shops, whether in North America or Europe. We got you covered with our sponsors. And let's move on to our past races. First off, Cyclo Nitro Blast. You wasn't on our preview podcast. We was here on with Roach. I don't know if you watched that one, but I got my picks 100% wrong. I said Mayfield's gonna suck. Mayfield era is over, and dude went and he didn't win e-buggy, but he won pretty much.
Why do you think Mayfield was going to suck? That was a pretty bold statement.
Well, I didn't say he was gonna suck, but I didn't pick him for the top 3.
Okay.
My idea was kind of like, the Worlds I was really disappointed of his result at Worlds. Like that wasn't his level. Like something was off, way off. And then, SIC, sure he was sick, which now looking back at it probably hindered him quite a bit, but didn't have the strongest ones. At AMS, what happened now at AMS? Yeah, he was kind of nowhere actually, because then Canas won at AMS. And then DNC, he came strong. He came really strong. Won all 3 classes, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I think he won all 3 classes. And I was then like, okay, it's Mayfield. He's always good at DNC. He got lucky in buggy because everyone else kind of screwed their own race. And, Fuller was kind of the only one who was challenging him. Okay, he didn't get lucky in buggy, but kind of like that's the starting point of the idea. But I think now this race was really good for him. So maybe he has to figure something out. But yeah,
was there any other Americans at PNB or? Because I know a few people at the Worlds Warmup, but
yeah. So
there.
Yeah, Fend and Rivkin missed PNB altogether. So that was Fend obviously at the Worlds Warmup. Fend, I don't know where he was. Sorry, Rivkin at the Worlds Warmup. Yeah, Fend, I don't know where Fend was. I heard he was somewhere, but definitely not at any of these races. So we're missing Fend here. And yeah, most of the pre-race stuff we recapped on the previous pod. We're not going to go too deep into this. I don't know if Keenan wants to talk about PNB later on. But pretty much e-buggy, Fuller won from Canas and Mayfield. Rose, a strong 4th. After DNC, we gave him a lot of shit. He had a really, really poor result. SIC wasn't that strong either. But now at DNC, at PNB, this is a strong 4th in e-buggy. We're going to go into Nitro soon. He did well on the Nitro class as well. And then Jonah Wilson, top 5 with the Sparko. We talked about Sparko before. A really good result for Jonah himself, but also Sparko. I don't think they have many top 5s so far, especially not at this level. PNB is the number 1 East Coast race. And another name I picked up from the results was Caden Fuller, 7th. That's pretty good. Obviously Mason won, but Caden being in the top 7, that's a strong one. That's a strong result. So interested to see what he can do in the future if he keeps this up, because definitely one of the strongest results I've seen from him. I don't have rest of the results here, but this is sort of the things I picked up from there. Yeah, we didn't talk about the track. Track was cool. I'd say one of the best at PNB, apart from the Joker Lane. I'm not a fan of the Joker Lane. Again, really disrupted the racing, but it is what it is. Did you watch any?
Do you know how many Joker laps they get?
I can't remember now.
I
Is it
didn't.
three? I think it was
Joker
three.
lanes are really fun. Well, we did it once at a race here, and it was actually quite good. I guess the only problem is when like who's done their Joker lane and when. I think Live RC has a feature that I can kind of figure out who's done it and who hasn't. But I think I think it's something different. I think changing the racing isn't too much of a bad thing. But I watched only a few practice laps, but I also saw the video of someone has sent their car all the way up the wall and it just went behind their back. I wasn't sure who it was, but I don't know if maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and maybe they had a sticky servo or something.
Yeah. The wall was definitely treacherous to a lot of people. It's the videos from Friday from open practice was quite horrendous to watch at times. But other than that, it was actually pretty good. I don't know. I like racing when it's like you can have the tactics on the track. You have the pitch stop still. Like if it was electric, I'd understand Joker lane more. But in Nitro, you have pit stops, you have pit strategy. I don't know. I've talked about this before, but not a fan of. Even if you do Joker lane, you would have to do it so that it would be longer, and you have to do it. But either way, let's move forward to Nitro Buggy. Obviously, as I said before, Mayfield coming out victorious in Nitro. Fuller in second, another second place finish from this year. So he finished second at DNC, second here. And then Van Dalen. We've been hyping him up a lot with Keenan. Really strong from him. I think he's becoming like clear number 2 at Techno. Not that he wasn't that before, but now it's like before it was Mayfield and then the others. Now it's kind of like Mayfield and Van Dalen and then the others. So I think that's a very, very good look for Van Dalen at the moment. He's got lots of good results. Lots second at SIC, now in fourth. Good run for him. Rose again, top 5, and he was also I'm pretty sure he was like the only guy from AE at this race. I don't know if they had guys at the bottom of the main. I don't think they even had anyone in the main, but in the B they might have had some. But that's pretty good. I think it was there with just what's his name now? Saxton and Rose. There was 2 of them and not much other team guys. And the name that I would have expected to pop up more is Canas. Sure, he finished second in E-Buggy. Truggy was a real blunder for him, and then now 6th in Nitro Buggy. Last year he was much better. He went to Silver State, won it. Went to AMS, won it. Now he's gone to DNC, finished 6th, and now this one PMB 6th, or was it 5th at DNC? I can't remember exactly, but either way, not a great start for Canas this year in Americas. In Europe he's good, but in America it's not that strong. And then some talking points. We already touched on Mayfield being back. Did you have some, Will, that you kind of thought of from this? I don't know how closely you follow HKL these days, or did you find anything interesting from this?
No, I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to PMB. So got a bit of a letdown from my side on the podcast here. So for me, not really a whole lot to say, I'm afraid.
Yeah. For me, I think there's 3 sort of big takeaways here. That Mayfield is definitely on a roll now. He's looking better than he has ever looked at with Techno. And yeah, people will say, oh, he won PMB last year as well. Sure, but there was no Europeans. Fend was running a TLR and really like mentally much weaker than Mayfield. Then last year, I think SIC was not that great for him. Rose won then. DNC was not great for him last year. Sure, he won the Nats. That's a good result. But other than that, he didn't really win much last year. And then the first year at Techno, it was tough. He had good results here and there. Yes, he won at DNC, but it was the Mickey Mouse track. So I don't even know like how realistic is that he would have won on the big track, because he even said himself he struggled on the big track. Yeah, but I mean I think this is the best Mayfield we've seen with Techno yet. It looks almost as good as he did with Mugen. So let's see how it goes. I think the Worlds was a little bit of a wake up for him. I said before the Worlds that he should be worried. I don't think he was that worried. But I think now he realized that like something needs to change, and I bet they've changed something up. At least the front knuckles, they have new stuff in their car. Maybe that's enough. Who knows? Maybe he's changed the setup more radically, but it's looking good for him. And on the flip side, Canas, as I said, a little bit disappointed in him for sure. Is he doing bad? No, not at all. He's doing all right, but he's the guy that you expect to go to these races and always fight for the win. But he has really, there's 2 American races now. He really hasn't been that big of a factor. In Newbuggy, he was really, really fast in qualifying at DNC. In Nitro, struggled. Now struggled again here at PMB. Then Sparko. We spoke about Sparko before, but this is by far the best situation Sparko has ever been in. And I think this is crazy considering all the drama that happened a month ago with Ogden, people saying, I'm never going to buy a Sparko, whatever. But looking at the results and their presence and so on, I think this is Sparko's biggest moment. And I'll end this with a question. Biggest spark. That's going to have to count in for the count up. Then I have one question to end this, and that is, would Fend have beaten Mayfield here? Because that's kind of something I always think. Fend was so good at SIC, even though he lost all his stuff. He was so good at SIC. He's performed pretty well all throughout with 8 scale. I'm quite confident that Fend would have actually been a big proponent for the win in this one. And that's because, PMB naturally is a better car for better track for X-Ray. It doesn't get that blown out. It's pretty wide and open, very high speed, better for pivotable cars altogether. I think Fend would have won it. Does that take anything away from Mayfield? No. I think he still looks the strongest overall in America. But I'm really going to wait for Wicked Weekend. I think that's going to sort of show, and the Nationals, of course. The National is going to be a big one, who's actually the strongest. But yeah, that's kind of my takeaways from PMB. I don't know if we're going to talk about Wikina later on, but that's kind of my PMB recap. I think, I think like Techno is looking better as well, like better than they have ever before. So the Americans look much better than at this point last year. That's kind of a big thumbs up to the Americans. I think it's the Worlds was a big wake up call to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I think adding to kind of, I guess, coming back to the Fend and Mayfield, has Fend done any big 8 scale races this year? Because it seems like he's been a little bit, maybe I just haven't seen it, but I don't know if he's been a little bit quiet on the 8 scale stuff. Like, I'm guessing he was at DS. Was he at DNC or was he at?
Yeah, DNC and SIC, he was there, sure, but SIC he won. But I think SIC is a little bit of like the first race of the year. People still kind of looking at their stuff. DNC is kind of the first big race of the year. And he did all right, but still, it was not the best DNC for Fend. Can't really say what went wrong. I don't really know.
True. Well, I mean, there's no doubt, I'm sure, once he gets his, well, not saying his packaging and sorted, but once he gets all used to everything, when we take some time, I'm sure he'll be a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, I think it would have been really close at PMB, especially with Mayfield. But it did look like, obviously, there's a few people missing from PMB this year. just due to the warm up and so on. But yeah, I think it would have been interesting.
All right. Then moving on to another race we had. This was last weekend, April 12th to 13th. The BRCA National Round 1 at Hertz. You actually went here. It was an interesting race, I heard. You wrote here that they had some rain. There was a lot of stuff going on, but Boots, reigning champion, ended up winning. I think it DQ'd, won, and pretty much dominated.
Oh yeah, I mean, Elliot just came into another level. I mean, I was only there to watch the main final, so I didn't get to see the qualifying or semis. But yeah, kind of. I mean, I know Boots has had a lot of time around that track as well in general, just like all the other Brits. But yeah, he kind of showed his experience and it showed like he's still there. Like I feel like, I mean, the UK has always been strong, and I know in Europe he kind of had a little phase where he wasn't really right up there, but I think he's 100% back for sure. I think, but like he just showed everyone what like his experience, and he just had it that weekend. But I think he had some, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had a servo go in the semi or something on the lines of that. Or I mean, he obviously still finished it to finish the semi, obviously to make the final. But yeah, so he started 8th on the grid, and basically the heavens opened right before the main final, so it was a pretty dry weekend. So there was a big squabble, everyone trying to figure out what tire to be on. Some people kind of hoping it was going to dry and start off with a bar style tire. A few people stuck with pin tires. I don't know what Boots ended up on, but basically by the end of lap 1, I think he was already in 3rd or 2nd or something, and then he could just slowly and then he got into 1st pretty quickly after that, and then he led basically the whole race. But I mean, saying that, there's an upcoming driver, Eric Like. I know they're pretty popular, especially in Europe and also in the UK, but he really was pushing Elliot along. I was kind of rooting for him to basically take it, and he got in front of Elliot, I think, for a few corners, and I think he made a small mistake, but then out of nowhere, I think he had a mechanical issue, which was really frustrating. So I think he got back on track, but then he finished like towards the back. But I think that was a really good showing for him. Like it's a really big shame what happened, but you know, I'm sure the luck will come for him, and I think it was good that he did that result with the Nemo as well. And it's a different style car, so I think that's also proving that maybe that concept is really good. I don't know how well the car actually is. I'm not doubting it by any means. I just don't know what it's like within the community. But yeah, I think it shows that, you know, the Eric is doing really well, and the Nemo guys are kind of really starting to get some pretty good speed with that car.
Doesn't his brother race as well, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, he does. I don't know where he finished, but I think Holger is the younger one as well. So yeah. I think he might make the quarters or something. Still, by all means, a respectable result. I know he's a bit younger, so.
Yeah. It's actually interesting that he was so good, because I remember seeing them a few years back at some races, and you know they was all right. They wasn't like top British guys, not even close to Skidmore and Boots or any of these, but he looked all right, you know, around with the rest of the UK guys, you know, Lewis Jones and so on. You know, it's a family. I think it's their mom even pitched for them, if I'm not wrong, and
they do.
There's 2 brothers, and they run for Gama. So I think it's very interesting, because I feel like they've sort of gradually increased all throughout, and maybe like from what it sounds like, it could be like this is the new sort of rising talent from the UK, sort of like Skidmore was, but you know, Skidmore was a different generation. I think, you know, he was with Lewis Jones, Callum Niblett at that time, and these guys, and kind of Skidmore was the one that stood out in the end. But yeah, interesting to see how Lick develops, because clearly has some potential. Is this even his home track?
Yeah, I think they actually don't live too far from me. I know they're a lot more central in London, and I don't know how they deal with the traffic there, but they're so dedicated. But yeah, they go to Hearts, I think is basically their closest track. I mean, they're putting the time. I mean, I always see them somewhere in Europe racing. I guess they just love it. I mean, fair enough. Like they're putting the time in, and it's obviously working. So for those guys, just carry on. And I'd like to think they'll be they're definitely the next generation coming in for sure. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they do in the next few years. Maybe they'll see them win. I'd like to see Eric for sure win a national. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, with a pace like that, I remember back in the day, it was kind of like, oh, Elliott comes and wins every national. That was pretty much the thing, especially when Bluefield stopped running, and Cragg kind of phased out a bit. But then it was Skidmore actually who really took the step up and ended up winning that one year in the nationals. Maybe Eric is one of those next ones to challenge Boots for the title, because it's been kind of, I think Skidmore is probably being the only one to beat Boots in the national series for quite a while. I could be wrong. It could be that someone else has also had some success, but yeah. Interesting to see how it develops. But either way, yeah, Eric, unfortunate DNF for him. Skidmore ended up hitting second spot, and Jones with the WIRC completing the podium. Decent run for these guys. A lot of UK nationals. I think there's two national series that I'm especially interested. It's the Italian and the UK. I think that those are, maybe these days the Spanish one. So probably the second highest level. Italian's definitely the highest level national series out there. There's no one even close to that. And then Spanish, and then the UK is probably the third highest level national series. So these are always interesting to follow. And I suggest all you guys, if you're interested in this stuff, here you can see a lot of these new talents develop, such as Pariente. I don't know if you guys knew about him, but he won his first national, I think 2 or 3 years back even. And now he's, a top name in the whole world of RC. So, and maybe Eric could be one of those from the UK. Who knows? It's interesting. The national series are very competitive as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I know I'm biased, but UK nationals, I feel like I've always been really competitive and always oversubscribed. But you kind of taking me. I mean, I guess it's already more for the 8 scale side, but I always knew Italy was really competitive. I know Spain as well is kind of coming up. Even on the 10 scale side, I saw they had like 100 drivers at one of their recent nationals. So, but I know a lot of top guys now in Europe are coming from like Italy, Spain. Like I saw the Pariente brothers, Buggyland. Like they had a really great showing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of guys really coming up now for Europe, especially from those countries. But yeah, would like to see. Also, obviously, would like to see our guys, come up as well. I know Elliott's kind of been up there for a while, but it'll be cool to see. And I know Johnny's also getting there as well. I know he made the world's main 2 years ago, and he had a shot this year, but I think I don't think he made it. Well, last year, sorry. But yeah, obviously, I think it's just in Europe got some really strong guys. So it's kind of been a bit of it's kind of seems to be the way at the moment.
Yeah, and to be honest, now that we're talking about this, I think even Germany, they are really, since the Kilich brothers started to become the top level in Europe, the level in Germany has increased a lot too. There's Aaron Rönnick, obviously Neumann with Maya, and then both the Kilich brothers. And then there's a lot of like guys who on a good day can really challenge these guys. And even now, Jona, I think he's living in Germany right now. So he's attending, I saw he attended one of these races, LA Speedway. So Germany is also like coming up a lot through the ranks. I think mostly thanks to the Kilich, because they have raised the bar so much higher in Germany in the recent times. So I think it was like Daniel Requard is probably the last fast guy in 8 scale before the Kilich. And that's in the beginning of 2000s. I could be missing someone. Obviously, Neumann is fast, but he's more a thin scale guy. So, yeah, very interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see how it develops because, especially the Italian nationals, they get faster and faster and faster every single year. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the main recap. We've been going for an hour already, so we should get going because the main recap, which is the 10 scale off-road worlds. And the recap of the week is brought to you by Invisible Speed and ML Toys. Let's start with the classic ad from Invisible Speed.
Stop scrolling, you wanna be Lewis Hamilton. Learn something new with Invisible Speed. You can't do everything at 100% maximum speed. You have to be smooth. I mean, when you drive a real car, if you drive a real car, how do you just, when you get to a 90-degree corner to turn into the parking lot, do you go like that with the steering wheel? Do you like slam on the throttle and the brake? No, you probably turn the wheel smooth and get on the throttle smooth. Same thing with an RC car. If you want to learn more and make your speed visible, stop scrolling.
Stop scrolling. All right. Thank you to Invisible Speed for the very long-term support on the podcast. I think JQ was the first sponsor of the podcast ever. Naturally, because he was sort of the first co-host. But also long-time supporter. So thank you, Joseph, for all the support for a long period of time. And we gave you a lot of also ad time on that setup station. So kind of double ad this episode for JQ. Obviously it was news, but we've never showed a new setup station, so it's the first. Then the other sponsor of this segment, ML Toys. It's not an RC thing really, but it's really cool. So hear this out. Attention RC and ride-on enthusiasts. Looking to take your Power Wheels to the next level? ML Toys has you covered. Specializing in upgrades for Power Wheels and ride-on vehicles, ML Toys offers everything from high-performance motors and gearboxes to custom batteries and lighting kits. Whether you're aiming for more speed, better durability, or just want to ride to stand out, ML Toys has the parts and expertise to make it happen. Upgrade your ride-on game today at mltoys.com. And don't forget, our Power Wheels podcast is dropping this February. Stay tuned. And you can save 10% by using promo code NONAME. Obviously, it has already dropped in February, so gotta update that.
Yeah, I think he's already started it.
Yeah, the podcast has started. I gotta be honest, I haven't watched an episode yet. I've been extremely busy. But I will do it. I'd be very happy to learn some. I saw some video about some. I guess it was a kid like doing drag racing with these Power Wheels, and dang that thing!
Drag racing.
Yeah. It's like not on a drag strip, but like a little bit smaller drag strip. And there was some kid, and dang that thing went fast. So, it's kind of like RC, but for people with kids that are too young to drive RC, maybe they are for Power Wheels. So,
it'd be cool if they do like tracks for those things. Like, I guess park it in a parking bay or parking lot or whatever. Just set up a small track. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I assume these things don't just go walking speed. Like, I'm assuming they're going quicker.
No, they go pretty damn fast. I guess it's kind of like a go-kart, but like not that, what would you say? Not that serious, it's more fun. Go-kart is kind of like, you want your kid to become Lewis Hamilton. This is like you want your kid to have a nice life. So that's the trade-off. No offense to anyone who loves karting. All right, let's get to this is the how would I say? This is the meat of the episode. The 10 scale for Worlds warm-up. I forgot that part. Warm-up. 2 weeks ago, 4th of April to 6th of April, in Sydney, Australia. I do want to start out by saying that thank you so much, RC Race Media, for doing timestamps on this live stream. You don't know how much time I actually spend on digging through these freaking live streams across all these races to find the spot we want to play on the podcast. Well, RC Race Media, thank you guys. You made my life. You probably saved like at least 30 minutes of time of my time here. So very, very big thank you to you guys.
Yeah, and the coverage was really good as well. I know Scotty was there, I think, doing some commentating, but I saw the video they did with the track walk and with Trish from Schumacher and a few other people. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to what they do at the Worlds, like the main event, but obviously the warm up was like really good in terms of coverage wise.
Yeah. I'm really impressed. Why is it always the Aussies and the Brits that do the coverage the best? Like, no offense to any of these American companies, you do a great job, but I'm talking about empirically from all racing, like Formula One, MotoGP, and then supercars and whatnot. It's always those that have the best coverage, and then Supercross. I've been watching Supercross this season. The timing fucking never works. It's probably been 2 races where the timing worked for the whole race. So, yeah, I don't know what's like. But either way, thank you, these guys. And I'm really like, I remember the last World. They did the last World as well in Australia, and it was really good. I think these guys being the ones who be doing the Asia Buggy Challenge as well. It's always been great, and I like the the social media coverage as well. So big shout out, but mostly this shout out is because you guys added timestamps. So with that, other streaming companies, if you are interested in me giving you shout outs, you can add some timestamps. All right, let's actually get to the point. Before the race, let's see, Fan didn't go. Who else?
So the only guys, I was quite surprised because the only guys that really went was Rivkin, Horn, Orlowski, Kovacic, Zelensky. Then there was Martin Bayer. I'm sure I'm missing a few people, maybe. But I was quite surprised that there was not many overseas competitors. I guess I'm talking more the top guys that didn't go. Like no one from the UK went. Not many people from Europe, other than just Orlowski and Zaleski and Kovacic. Well, I guess Mount Bear as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Only really 2 Americans. So, well, no, actually that's a lie because Tom Rendenek was there and Chase Lemieux. But I thought there'd be more like top guys that would go. And I was quite surprised with that.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think when I think about it, Fend was probably the only real top guy that didn't go. Other than that, it was like from the Europe. Okay, there's a lot of UK guys. But I mean, I'd say Kovacic, Orlowski, and Karab are the best 3 European 10 scale guys, and they all went. And then in America, kind of like Rivkin, Horn, even David Bata was there. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, some guys did skip it for sure, but I was kind of surprised like how many went, because I remember when it was the 8 scale Worlds Warmup, I think Ronefog was pretty much the only guy who went. Like everyone else was from Asia or Australia. So I think it's much better than last time. But I think it's mostly because the surface is so different. So people kind of think that they need to practice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the European guys actually might have a small advantage because the Euros this year at the Hoodie Arena. And that's traditionally a really low grip surface. So I feel like whatever people find setup wise on there, I would like to think would translate. Because both surfaces look fairly similar. I think Hoodie's a little bit more dusty compared to what Australia is, but obviously we're going to get into nitty gritty of it. Oh, they glued? Oh, I didn't realize they glued it.
Yeah, I saw some video from the Hoodie Arena that they are gluing the surface of the track. So I don't know what that's going to do, because obviously the last time out they had the Worlds, it was extremely slippery. I remember everyone complaining that it was so slippery. But now, I don't know what's going to happen. And also, I mean, I guess the grip level should be the same, but this is much more dusty, this track in Australia. So I think there's definitely some difference to that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't know. Should we tackle this point first? I wrote here real off-road.
Yeah, I guess it's rude. I guess it's rude not to. So
so
adjust my camera quick.
Okay. My take
It's
on this
definitely
is like,
yeah.
It's like I don't really. I hate this idea of only this is real off road and this is how off road should be and this is all it makes sense, and bring out the rear motors and bring out this and bring out that. But realistically, everyone ran standard cars pretty much. They wasn't like, no one brought out even a stand-up gearbox or a rear motor or whatever. Everyone had standard, layback gearbox or whatever, but still like it was not even the mid motor from the beginning of the 2010s. It was like the really modern cars, and I don't know, like, is it that much different? I don't think it's that much different. I mean, it's different in terms of setup and so on, but like, is the difference so big that this is absolutely real off-road and then, everything else is fake off-road or whatever? That's kind of, to me, silly. I mean, I like this. It looks cool. I like driving on stuff like this, but can we just chill? Like, with this, it's a different world. It's ungroomed. It's outdoors, but like, there's a reason we have transferred away from this, and I can tell you, it's not that it's too difficult. It's that it's too difficult to maintain. It's not too difficult to drive on, and I don't know. That's my take on this. It's cool, but like, don't make it into this is real off road.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I would say this. I guess this is off-road in its most basic form. But I mean, the main thing I noticed with the Worlds is like the Worlds always seem to be so much, at least in the last 3 Worlds, always seem to be a lot lower grip than I feel like back in 2013 when they had Chico, that was like the highest grip thing in the world. And now it feels like you can kind of, I mean, that was over 10 years ago, but I feel like then you ran everyone was running mid-motor, but I guess essentially everything there was fairly commercially available. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I know Kyosho and stuff had stuff working back in the time, but it feels like now, I mean, I know all teams were doing something to their car to get it working on these low grip, just at the warm up just gone. Hoodie Arena, I know, again, everyone was like modifying arms, just trying to get grip, and I'm assuming a hobby action. I think that was still fairly low grip as well, but everyone was doing something. But it kind of feels like the world, like, because it's just been so low grip in the last few ones, like, you almost just kind of need a one-off dedicated car to run at that race, just because it's going to be one of a kind, and then you kind of never really run a setup like that again. I don't know if you kind of feel that's kind of, you have a similar point on that in the last few years. I do kind of like wonder, should the world be something that everyone's a bit more accustomed to? And obviously not taking away anything from this warm up, and then also obviously we'll get into the track, but I don't know, that's kind of what I felt like the last few worlds have been like. I don't know if you share the same view or if you have a different opinion on it.
I do agree. I definitely agree on that. Like, there's two ways to look at this. One is that we need more tracks like this. We need like hot rod hobbies in America, track like that. We need tracks like this here in Australia, and we even have had some in Finland. I don't think we really have any dirt track left, but have some dirt tracks in Finland. I do think we need that for 10 scale as well. I think there's a valid point to having low grip tracks as well as high grip tracks. But again, having a low grip track for Worlds and then everything else is totally different. Now, what's the point? Like, to me, that's silly. It's kind of like these people compete day to day in things, and then you take them out somewhere completely different, and then one person gets it right, gets maybe even a bit lucky, and ends up winning. We don't want that. Like, I think that's the wrong way to go, and that's gonna actually it's gonna worsen the value of the World Championship. Be it 8 scale, be it 10 scale. It's gonna diminish the value of a World Championship. Is it too bad now? No, it's not. I think we're still fine. People have these races, and I think this is one way to encourage people to return running real off-road or whatever that you call it, these ungroomed tracks with some dust on it. But yeah, I'm happy we have this. Should we have this outside of the Worlds? Definitely. Should we have this at the Worlds at the cost of everything else? Perhaps not. I mean, it's a tough thing, because if the Worlds was on carpet every year, then there would be the situation where there would be no point to run on dirt. But then again, if the Worlds are not on dirt every time, is that gonna kill dirt racing altogether? I don't know. I'm kind of split on this one. I think it's something you can discuss in the comments what you guys think, because I would like the Worlds to better represent what these guys most often race on, but at the same time, I do think we need to somehow keep this type of racing alive too. And if it's the Worlds, perhaps this is the only way we can do it.
I think the other argument as well is because the Worlds, maybe because it is different for the majority, everyone's kind of in the same boat. Because I guess most of us in Europe don't really race, or even if we race on dirt, I don't know if it's as loose as that. In America, we race generally on artificial surfaces. I guess America, their stuff is way more high traction than, for example, comparing it to Australia. And I know, speaking to some of the Australian guys, it sounds like a lot of their tracks are generally high grip. So this track seems like is a one-off. So I guess the other argument is, well, everyone's in the same boat and everyone's got to figure it out. But I think it does make it unique. But I think there is still a little bit like every World has kind of been like this in the last few years. I don't mean that as in every track has just it's been bad because it's been low grip. But I've just noticed the pattern, and it kind of just makes it seem like you need your car has to be so much different from what it normally would be for a dirt setup to make it work, because it's that much lower traction. But then I guess there's the other side is where it's a Worlds and it's different. I guess everyone's in the same boat. You could argue Lilies, that kind of brings down the plane. I don't know if that makes it a bit more even, or maybe it doesn't. I'm always just contradicting myself here. So I guess that's kind of my, I don't know if any of that what I just said makes any sense at all, or if I was just waffling, but I guess that's kind of my view on how it's been in the last few years.
Yeah, I do sense that the Worlds are always being kind of a one-off. When you think about even 8 scale, you think of Vegas in 2000. They pretty much built that freaking track on a parking lot. Then, was it now 2002? Yeah, 2002 in Uruguay, Paraguay, one of those. Nobody's probably went there before. 2004 in Sweden. One of the tracks that you would never believe existed in RC altogether, and it was in Sweden. not even close to a typical Swedish track or a Northern European track whatsoever. 2006 Indonesia, Asian track. At that time there wasn't Asian racers, so kind of a level playing field. 2008 American track, but in the East Coast. And at that time, most of the top Americans were from the West. So again, sort of a level playing field. 2010, Thailand, similar thing to Indonesia. 2012, Argentina, same thing with the Uruguay Worlds. 14, yes, it was in Italy, but it was in Sicily. And all of the top Italians live in the northern Italy. This track was pretty much concrete, not even dirt. Totally different to anything. 2016 Vegas. Okay, this track, they had raced on this service before, but it was still quite a one-off. Americans don't get to race on stuff like this that often. Not DNC at that time wasn't close. Maybe something like Thunder Rally was similar, but not that close. 2018 in Australia, different to everything. 2022, that's the first time we kind of had a definite bias towards Europeans, and obviously now same thing in 2024. So when you think about that history, it kind of is like, as you said, it is what you said, that the worlds in general have been in a somewhat level playing field. Now, in 10 scale, China was like this. Yatabe was like this in 2015. Hoodie, did it really favor anyone? Probably not. There's not another venue like that in Europe. And then now, well, Hobby Action too, even though it heavily should have favored Americans, the fact that there was no saucing, it kind of leveled the playing field a lot. And now, yeah, here, the really only ones who are favored are the ones who are from Sydney. So that's kind of like the only thing here. So I do think that's a very valid argument. And I think, that could be one thing that, makes it worthwhile. And this would also be an argument for having more practice, because the worlds have been getting long, it's ridiculously long, like 2 weeks or something. I don't know how long 10 scale, I think it's shorter, but 8 scale worlds have been ridiculously long. It's almost 2 weeks. Before, these days, it's been shorter, thank God. But the argument could be that, you take people out somewhere that, nobody's familiar with, and then you put them on this track, say that, figure it out, you have 4 days of practice, 3 days of qualifying, and then we race, I mean, if you think like a scientist would think, this would be the best type of experiment to test at who's best at something. So I think, like, in a sense, like, this is the best way to test at what driver and team and car is best when put in an unknown scenario. And that, I think, in a sense, that's what world should be. So I do think you brought up a very valid argument.
Yeah, but I guess yeah, I think that's well, at least I'm not going crazy. But obviously, like, the track though itself, like, it was weird because a few of us, I was speaking to a few people before we even saw the warm up, and some people were like, oh yeah, I might go, I don't know. And then, like, as soon as we saw the warm up, I already had a few people like, yeah, I saw that warm up, I'm gonna go. It's
Yeah.
like it looked honestly like it's a really unique track as well. It kind of reminds me of a WRC kind of. Well, I know WRC is just point A to point B, but it kind of gave me a WRC vibe. But it was like high speed and actually had some jumps. Because I saw like that double section, even with two wheel, looked pretty hard to make that first double, but it was a bit like, it wasn't just point and squirt. It was a track where like it looked like you really had to. I know you were talking about earlier on that, maybe I got this wrong, but you thought that maybe a mid-motor wouldn't be too far off, for example. But I think on a track like this, there's so many on-power corners where like I think a lay down will always be quicker, like, especially coming onto the straight. I mean, not that it's a tight corner, but I think a lot. It seems like the first time in a long time if someone's like it. Everyone's excited for this Worlds. I think it's what I'm trying to get to. I think it was a little bit unknown at first, but after the warm up, and it looks like it was presented so well. And I think they're going to redo the whole track, I believe, before the event itself. So I think it's going to be a really good Worlds. I think with it being in Sydney, not that it's remote, but I guess like in general, where the world is, like not many people, for example, would go. I mean, I'm talking purely racing wise, that would go to Australia for many races at all. I think, in fact, most of these guys, I know it was Michael's, for example, first time in Australia racing. But so I think it'll be cool as well, because Sydney's a place that a lot of people want to go to anyway. So I think it's going to be really good. I'm really excited for it. I need to actually book my tickets, and if anyone knows some good Airbnbs or whatever, let me know as well.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think you brought up good points. I'm thinking of what to start on, but the fact that it has some high speed corners sure helps the layout or lay down cars a lot. But like when you actually think about it, a lot of the times when it's low grip, it doesn't really matter if you have rear motor or stand up or whatever. There's not gonna be a lot of drive in the car anyway. The drive on the car is gonna be really poor on a two-wheel drive. And then you're kind of always relying on corner speed. And when you think about corner speed, like obviously you want a lay down car for more corner speed because you can keep that power up. When you have the weight really far rearwards, you're gonna really have that sort of rear and kick out mid corner, and you're gonna have to slow down more for the corners, and it's not gonna be as smooth. I remember back in the day when we were still racing on dirt in Finland, Schumacher didn't have a stand-up car. So I mean, they had a stand-up car, was really old. So I was running it was still belt driven. I can't even. Yeah, KF. Yeah, I was running the KF, and everyone else, like, it started raining, so everyone else had the regular, mid-motor car. I had the KF, and I actually went fastest, and it was raining. And the reason why I went fastest was because everyone else lost, steering. Everyone else lost drive. They lost everything. But for me, like, as long as the thing kept moving, it actually went around pretty well. So the time for these rear motor cars, it kind of never even existed. The only time you could really have a rear motor car is if the track was only 180s, it was really, really bumpy, and then it was like really, really high amount of roost or whatever. So like there was no groove whatsoever. That's probably the only time it would make sense to have a rear motor car or even a stand-up, in my opinion. I mean, I would go as far as to bet that, like, for the past 15 years, almost 20 years, we would have been better off with these cars in all conditions we've raced on since then. That's how far I would go, because, like, even for us, like, there was one track that was, like, in Finland that was, like, pretty much, like, you consider, like, the Vegas track, for example, not as bad as Silver State, but like almost sand that you were driving in. And people still went fastest with mid-motor cars and like center-motored cars, and like people tried rear motors, but it never made sense. It wasn't faster. So yeah, that's kind of to that argument. And if you're watching this on video, you have been seeing some driving from Q5. Uh, uh, should we have a little chat about the track, Will?
Yeah, I think let's go into the track. I don't know if it's
because
glitching or I'm going
well,
crazy.
you wanna take the charge in this one because you kind of started it.
Yeah, so I mean, I watched a track walk. So like I watched it with, I think it was Aiden Horn and I'm really sorry, but I can't remember the other guy who did it. But it was some Australian guy. But I think the track the way it's presented is really good. I heard in the morning a lot of moisture gets on, so especially if you go into the grass, I'm hearing it like it takes like half a lap basically for you to kind of get any grip back. But it looks, I mean, to say the obvious, a little pretty loose. Hearing a lot of guys are doing quite a lot to try to get some grip, kind of similar to what everyone was doing back in Hoodie Arena. But it looked, I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit more jumps or like bigger jumps, but I think for the most part, like, I think there's a lot of, what's the word, like depth perception, because there was a point where you're going, you clear the double section, do the 180, and like it looked like people's cars were stalling on that right-hander, and it wasn't until I saw like the lower camera view that it's actually like a it's like not a berm, I can't remember the word right now, but it's like a raised section. So you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it was a raised section, so you're obviously like your car's kind of fighting to get tight onto that corner. So, but I know as well the shadows. I think maybe I don't know where they are, where the sun is, when it impacts them the most. But I'm hearing that's a bit of a challenge. We actually have a few tracks out in the UK, so maybe our UK guys will be accustomed to that, but it's not really the end of the world. But I think the track itself looks really good. Like, I wonder what they'll do for the world when it comes to the Worlds, because they have to change the track from two-wheel to four-wheel drive. So I don't know if they're going to do reverse, or if maybe they'll have a kind of section cut out so they can change it after. But I mean, the track-wise, I think it looks good. I did hear some rumors that maybe they would, don't say sauce it or put sugar on it, but I think they are potentially going to put something on it. I might be talking rubbish there, but I think I heard that from one of the Australian guys that they might be doing that. I don't know if that's when they're going to do it, but I can't imagine it'll be that much different to what the warm-up was, to be honest.
Yeah, I also heard about this, that they would put some sort of I don't know what you would call it, solution additive onto the track. So yeah, that could be that they are doing it or they're not doing it, but definitely some talk of it. I'm mostly sort of thinking of how they're gonna change the track, because knowing, like, obviously we race in 8 scale in Finland with ungroomed dirt, so when you change a section of the track, it takes quite a while to pack up. It's gonna really break up really soon. So I'm kind of worried if that happens at the Worlds. Like, how are they gonna figure it out? So there's two things they have to do. They have to change the track now before the Worlds, and then they have to make it so that it's different from 2-wheel to 4-wheel. And that's, to me, the interesting bit, and how they're gonna do that.
Because if the track because I'm thinking if the track now, for example, is lower grip as it's I guess, let's say, developed, then if it's going to be a fresher track for the Worlds, that I don't know how quickly it grooms up. So if it will groove up, I'm not so I guess that could be a fair argument. But I know with that kind of track, you can see the track is like they have well. It's like it's not just as simple as just changing a layout. It's because they have all the grass made in a certain way. Do they have to tear up all that grass? I assume, to make a new layout. So I think that's another factor. But I'm not sure if they are planning to change it completely or just a little bit. Of course, it'd be cool if they change it completely, I guess, just as a fresh layout. But that's actually a really valid point. If that's going to change, obviously, it would take a long time for the dirt to come through. Because the layout they've had now, they've had on for a while, and I think maybe they would have put some fresh dirt or something on it, but not on the whole track, unless I'm wrong with that as well.
Yeah, and I think the best way to do it is sort of switch up a few. Like, definitely, I don't want them to make a run it reverse for different classes. That's the worst worst thing you could do, in my opinion. I think the best ways to do it is just to have lanes that you can maybe put some astroturf and then switch it up, and that way you can have a like easily switchable layout, but still like have the dirt in a good condition for the race. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that, because oftentimes when you have to kind of figure out some ways to make the track change, the layout kind of suffers from that. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it develops for the worlds, and will they actually change. So we saw some video, but should we move on to qualifying? Two drivers ran first on Saturday, and to the surprise, I said to the surprise of probably a lot of the European and Americans, it was actually the Australians that came out really swinging. So first round of qualifying went to Ari Bakla, second round to Lachlan Donnelly, third round to Lachlan Donnelly, and it was until fourth round where the first non-Aussie TQ'd. Orlowski taking the TQ in Q4, and then Rivkin taking one for the Americans as well in Q5. Top three ended up being Donnelly, Rivkin, and Orlowski. What you make of this, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, fair play to Donnelly because I think he won not the pre warm up, but it was an Australian national. That's it. I think he won it in 2-0. So I kind of would have thought. Well, I got to be careful here, but I thought maybe Rivkin would have came out a bit more stronger. But I mean, obviously, you can't with someone who's obviously the kid's got talent, Donnelly, but also I'm assuming that's his home track. You know, like familiarity, I think is always king, especially if you have so much experience on that track and you can keep it together for 5 minutes and you know exactly what it's going to do. But obviously still, like, I mean, for him to, especially it was a Worlds Warmup, there's obviously a lot more pressure. So I know he had some, I have a feeling in either one or two of the mains, he lost it on the last lap, but he always seemed to, in A3, it always seemed like he would just be able to just bring it home. So, like, I think he's definitely going to be one to watch the Worlds. And obviously everyone's going to be doing everything from now till then to find something. So, but I guess he's already at that place where he probably feels comfortable with his car. He knows what it's going to do every lap. He knows what the track's going to do. And he will always have that again over everyone else. So, but yeah, I mean, for him to win the Worlds Warmup like that, I think is absolutely fair play, because it's not the first time he's raced Rivkin as well. So I think he's going to be one to watch at the Worlds, like, for sure. It'll be cool if he brings it home, but obviously the World is always a different ball game.
Yeah. To me, the interesting part especially was that, because you said Rivkin, you was expecting Rivkin to be really fast. The interesting part, not necessarily that Donnelly beat Rivkin in the qualifying, but in my opinion, that Orlowski was so close. He TQ'd around, just a few seconds off over 5 minutes in pretty much every round from Rivkin. And even, obviously he beat him in round 4. So I was really impressed the way Orlowski started this. A really good run for him. But I mean, looking at these results, the big takeaway is locals are really, really strong. Donnelly taking the win, obviously, the TQ, obviously. Ari Bakla in 4th, Jared Menth in 6th, and then two other Aussies, Matthew Cooper and Christopher Sturdy in the main. So that makes 5 Aussies in the two-wheel drive main. Two-wheel drive is obviously run first, and we'll go in four-wheel drive after this. But I can tell you that much, that there wasn't as many in four-wheel drive. So I'm kind of expecting some of this is down to home field advantage, which is fine. Like, it's a warm-up race, especially here. It should be here, but a thing to keep in your mind when you look at these results. Horn and Lemieux, both in the B in two-wheel drive. Obviously not something they want. I think both of them are looking for pretty good result for the Worlds. I'd say two of the top guys behind Fenn and Rupin from America. So definitely not the result in two-wheel drive they wanted, but yeah, it's a warm-up. One race I want to point out is Koki Kato. Finished second in round 1, 7th in round 4, and 6th in round 5. 7th overall in qualifying. I think this is really strong for him. And the thing that impresses me the most is he races against other Japanese drivers, and there ain't many other fast Japanese drivers. So the level of competition he has is not very high at home. But then when he comes abroad, he's still able to put up these results, which look really promising. I don't know that much about the Japanese 10 scale scene. Do they race on dirt like this? He might have been here before because, it's not that far away from him, obviously, that being that he's from Japan. But this looks really promising. I thought the Japanese 10 scale, you had Sugiura and these guys back in the day. But I thought like Japanese 10 scale scene was kind of dead, but Koki is really good. I'm looking at this like this is looking pretty good. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I definitely think he was definitely was an underdog into the event. I think a lot of the time, especially at Worlds, like a lot of Japanese guys always seem to kind of come out when you least suspect them. I'm not sure there was anyone at Hobby Action that made the A, but I know, especially the Hoodie Arena, there was I think he said his name, but he was a Yokomo driver.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name, but I think he finished third. He just came out. Yeah, it was him. It was Yokomo back then, and he just he finished third. But I always see like on my Instagram, like some of these guys have like really random dirt tracks in Japan. I think they are quite literally like made in someone's garden, and they are really wacky. But it's a track. I mean, a track's a track. Fair play to anyone that kind of makes one. So I think their tracks are actually quite loose. So I don't know if Kuki Kyoto races on any of them, but I mean, obviously but yeah, it was really strong because I feel like in the last few years there hasn't really been many top Japanese guys in 10th off-road. I know obviously in touring car and 8th is a little bit different, but I guess that's my feeling on it. But I don't know if he's been to the track before, but I guess he's definitely one to watch. And I think I don't know the guy too well. I don't know if he was Kyosho before or Yokomo. And maybe he's made the switch, I think, in the last few years to Associated. Maybe someone correct me if I'm right or wrong. But yeah, I think that's good for him. Definitely an underdog.
Yeah, and Koki, he's also part of the Infinity team, which pretty much means that he a lot of his time is probably spent running Nitro on road and even H scale off road, which is that he's not even a full time 10 scale guy like some of these other guys were back in the day. Sugiura, for example, like he was only pretty much at least to my knowledge for 10 scale. Yeah, moving on to the mains. Let me try to play this for you guys. I don't know how well this is gonna work. But yeah, for the mains, first one probably the most interesting one. We have Orlowski taking the win in A1. Then we have Rivkin taking the win in A2, and Donnelly taking the win in A3. So Donnelly had to actually fight for these wins. They really had to. They split wins. I think even both classes they split wins. So it was a really big fight for this, and I think partly probably down to the lower grip of the track, easier to overtake, easier to make mistakes, and so on. But then also, I don't know. I think it's going to be a really interesting world. I think it's going to really bunch up the field. The fact that it's so different for everyone, and then everyone has some time to sort it out. But yeah, Orlowski taking the win in this A1. What you make of that, Will?
Yeah, I remember. I'm hoping I remember this right, but I think in A1 it was basically it was those guys top three up front, and I think I can't remember how it happened, but I think there was a small, don't say tag or racing incident. Well, I don't want to say I can't remember if that was how it happened, but yeah, but Orlowski got through on the last lap and managed to take A1. And I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but I'm looking just at the final results, and it was actually a tie between Donnelly and Rivkin, and it was obviously I believe some fastest time that gets the overall win, but it was it was Donnelly that had a faster time by it looks like from the results that I don't think you had the results in front of you, but every main everyone went quicker and quicker and quicker. So I don't know if that just meant the track was revolving more, but obviously I guess it worked in Donnelly's favor because he was up against it in A3 and looks like he got through for the extra lap, and so did a few other guys. But I guess kind of touching back on Orlowski as well, like it shows how I think he just came back off of Euros, 12-scale Euros, and I think he missed the prize ceremony to go to Australia. So I think that's kind of impressive to go from Euros doing pan car to go straight to Australia, and going from the complete opposite of track, discipline and grip level, to go from really high grip to basically almost next to nothing. So I guess I don't know if I jumped the gun there if we were meant to go into each main, but yeah, I guess that's kind of my thoughts on how it went.
No. Yeah, no, that was good because I was also going through the results, and I mean, there's really not much to reason to go into each main because the top three, Donnelly, Rivkin, Orlowski, they watched the top three in every single main. They just switched positions around. Everyone got a first, a second, and a third. Oh, sorry, Orlowski got a third and a third and a first. And then even behind them, Karup and Bakla, they started fourth and fifth, and they finished fourth and fifth. Pretty much the only changes in two-wheel drive mains was Koki Kato made it up to sixth from seventh, Kobevic from 8th to 7th, and then the Aussies kind of fell down to the back. Jared Ment, who qualified 6th, dropped down to 8th. Sturdy and Cooper switched places around, but kind of showed that as people got more used to it, the sort of home field edge slowly diminished down. And yeah, talking a little bit more about the track now that we have the video on screen again. I do think sort of the coolest aspect of this is that it's outdoors. Because when you think about it, I don't really care about the jumps or the grip or what the surface is like. I'm more so interested in how much, elevation, different type of obstacles. You have this chicane, it drops down a bit, then you have these doubles. You have a little bit of an off camber on this corner. Going down to the back, you have this sort of dip downwards, and then again climbing up, and then a dip downwards again. Very flowing, like you said, like WRC, like a rally course, pretty much this track. You have so much that you can play with the car and generate speed. It's all up to corner speed. I think that's the coolest part about this track. Not necessarily that is he groomed or not, like with some with some solution. And there you can see the fight actually. So Donnelly comes up short. Yeah, and we have Michael taking the lead on the last lap, and all of these three guys come to the line one after another. And looking at the times, it's kind of that was the case in every single main. And I think we even might have a replay of this. I don't know if the live stream or we have just the results. I'll take this down. But yeah, as I was saying, like it's more so really the layout of the track, the style of the track, the elevation, the obstacles, and so on. That's impressive, at least to me. And I think this is what we often miss. Like for example, Euros last year. I think we talked about it with you as well. We covered it. That's kind of what we miss on tracks like that. It's very blonde. It's flat. It has a few bumps here or there. I think that's really what we want, more so than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think especially when you look at the track video, the walk around video, you can see how undulating the track is. Because from the rostrum and the camera, it looks like it's flat, but it's really like especially it's kind of sloped. I feel like the back end is obviously a little bit higher than the front end because you can see when you go up to the hill and you come down, it is and I think it's good. And like a lot of this again, kind of coming to some of the corners as well, they are like banked, so it's not just like a normal corner. But I think it's good. I mean. Yeah, I mean, again, I like that jump section in the Wells in the middle. I wonder if they'll keep that for the Wells, but I definitely like, you veer off, you're going to moan at me with this, but it's off-road, like it's 3D, it's dirt, so it kind of ticks, to be honest, most of the boxes, I think, for a Wells track, and I think it's going to deliver for sure. I think it's the first time in a while a lot of people are quite happy to go to a Worlds because I know for sure Hobby Action was it was just, I don't think there's nothing on the facility. I think people were just worried about the grip levels because traditionally you would source, so there was an unknown. The Hoodie Arena, everyone knew it was going to be really low grip, but I think there's a little bit of controversy on whether the X-Ray guys maybe would have done some extra practice or so on, or if they were going to do anything for the race, because I know the practicing there was a little bit limited, but I can't remember that entirely. But I think like with Australia, everyone seems really excited to go, and I think that's like really good to see. And I see like a lot of us guys here are just like yeah, we want to go. We're just going to get our planes, tickets sorted, Airbnbs, and let's just go. It's a long ass flight, but
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say that really makes the difference, the sort of what you call this, the areas in between the track. What you call this? I'm blanking out on what the name is. Infield. So
infield,
the infield of the track. Yeah, the infield of the track. It's real grass. Sure, AstroTurf is good too, but especially in tracks in America, like especially those. I understand, like for the indoor tracks on the east, it's really hard to do. It's 1 week and you're there. You don't have time for like laying out AstroTurf and cutting it to right size and so on. But it makes a real difference on how the track looks. Like when you look at this track and you see that grass in the infield, it just looks so much more professional, And I think that's something that kind of misses from the Astro tracks a lot of the times. It's just green sea of pipes and concrete blocks that you go around. So I thought,
and the track has curbs. That was another thing that I think was really good. The track has curbs, so it's not like there's the track and then a pipe and that's it. So you almost kind of have like a second. I think subconsciously you'll always treat the curb as a barrier. So I guess the one thing I wanted to bring up, and I wasn't sure if I didn't see enough footage to see if this was true or not, but I wasn't sure if there were actually that many mistakes because like Yosi wasn't going as fast like you were on carpet, and like the track, other maybe that jump section, okay, maybe, but like as long as like you had decent grip, I wasn't sure if it was like a track a lot of people were making mistakes on. That was kind of one thing I wanted to bring up. I personally didn't see many mistakes unless it was on that jump section, but I was actually kind of thinking, is that something? And the curbs obviously kind of gives you not a safety net, but you kind of have something else before you actually hit the pipe, unless you're just going all out and just trying to hug everything.
Yeah, there's definitely more room for error here because number one, you're not going as fast as on carpet. So if you make a little mistake, you're not going to just drive off the track yourself. And then as well, like if you turn in a bit too early, you hit the curb. It gives you a little bit of leeway. If you turn too sharp, you're not going to grip roll. If you go wide, you can just correct it, slide a little bit wide. So I think it gives you a little bit more leeway in terms of mistakes. So that's a good observation. But yeah, wrapping up two-wheel drive, we have Donnelly obviously winning it, and he looks strong. The thing is that he was strong at the start, but his strength didn't really go away at any point. He got passed in the mains. Rivkin won A1, A2, and Orlowski won A1, and he still came out strong in A3. So it's not that he went slower and slower throughout the weekend. Instead, he kept upping his pace, similarly to people behind him. So really good, really promising for him. And then obviously 1-2 win for AE. I know I've talked about it before in the podcast. I've heard people talk about it online that people are not comfortable with the B7 when it's low grip. From what I understand, these guys ran the B7. Doesn't look too bad. Maybe they found something. Maybe they modified something. Could be also that they're running B6 parts on it. What do I know? I wasn't there to see for myself. But so far so good for Team AE, and a 1-2 at the Worlds Warmup is not that bad. I think it's pretty good. I'll take it. I would take it at least.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely good showing for Associated. As far as I wasn't there, but as far as I'm aware, it's a normal kit car, nothing special as far as I'm aware. But I wasn't there. But I think again, it's a really good showing for Schumacher as well. I kind of know I said in a podcast before, I kind of always felt like the Schumachers traditionally weren't like the strongest car on dirt, but this is kind of obviously proving that. I guess putting that theory to rest, looks like the guys found something there, especially the Schumacher. I think the car is definitely getting better on dirt, and I'd actually probably say it's probably produces as much grip as any other car on there. So, but I mean, yeah, and then obviously Donnelly getting the win, and obviously he did it in 4-wheel as well, which is what we're moving on to as well. I think it's obviously that'll be confidence for him, and I'm sure he'll be obviously I think he'll be wanting to make the main now for sure. He'll have some confidence there, but obviously I think everyone's going to do their homework and come back stronger. So it'll be interesting to see how people come back, but obviously that's his home turf. He probably knows that track better than anyone. So I think I won't say he's going to be the man to beat, but it's the world. So everything changes. The whole dynamic changes. So it'll be interesting how he does, to be honest, when it comes time in September. Can't even speak at the moment, clearly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's realistic that he could win the world. I think Rivkin, this is the second time Rivkin visits here, and he still Donnelly beats him. It is realistic that Donnelly could win the worlds, but yeah, let's move on to 4-wheel drive. So we get going forward with this. Start with qualifying. We'll move a bit quicker to qualifying, because we spent a lot on the track recently on the tour segment. So Donnelly again takes the TQ in 4-wheel drive. He TQ'd rounds 1 and 3. Rivkin took round 2, Orlowski round 5, and Daniel Kovacic Orlowski took, Kierup took round 4, and Kovacic took round 5. So Donnelly TQ, Kierup in second with a pair of seconds and a TQ, Rivkin in third with a TQ and a pair of seconds, similar to Kierup. Again, AE top 3. Behind these guys, Kobovic and Orlowski, 4th and 5th, both with the new car, which you're going to visit later on. Actually, AE had a new car as well for Rivkin and Horn. We're going to talk about that as well later on. Yeah, I guess top 5 was pretty much the only ones who were in the fight for top positions. I'd even go as far as say top 3 was ahead of the 4th and 5th. But the top 5 was clearly Donnelly, Karup, Rivkin, Kobovic, and Orlowski. They were the class of the field in four-wheel drive, at least in qualifying. One thing I do want to point out is Kobovic beat Orlowski here in qualifying, and a little spoiler, you're going to find it out in a second anyway, but he also beat Orlowski in the main. So that doesn't happen very often these days. It's pretty much always that if Orlowski's first, Kobovic is second or third, you know, but it's not often it's this way around.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if part of me feels like because Kovacic used to race a lot of the Hoodie Arena when he was a X-ray driver. I don't know, and I guess this new car, I guess we can say it sounds like it's not a belt car anymore. So I don't know if maybe there's a bit more familiarity there, or I guess as well, Kovacic is obviously purely an off-road driver, while Michael's kind of, I guess you could say, he's a bit of, at the moment he's more touring car side, but obviously he does have his roots as off-road, but not traditionally this off-road, like low grip. So maybe that's just me over-analysing it, but also could just be that Kovacic kind of just got to grips with what he had a lot quicker than Michael, because it looks like Michael had a pair of 3s and a 5, and then Kovacic actually had a TQ in the last round of qualifying. I don't know if there's actually 5 rounds of qualifying or 6. My iPad is going a bit funky, but yeah, it looks like
5, I think. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I think obviously it's a strong showing for the Schumacher guys as well. But obviously it's the warm up, so like I know Michael, he'll have the fire with him for sure for the actual event.
Yeah. Moving to the guys behind the top 5, Chase Lemieux, B in the 2-wheel drive, 6th now in 4-wheel drive, after qualifying. Koki Kato again, a 7th place qualifying for him. Ari Bakla, 8th, 2nd Aussie in the main. Only 2 Aussies in 4-wheel drive, as I said. I think we got to be honest here and say that, you know, all of those 5 Aussies that made the 2-wheel drive main, they're not going to make the main at the Worlds. But like Donnelly and Bakla, it's very likely that both of these guys will be in the main at the Worlds. And also Donnelly, it's very likely that he'll be actually challenging for the win at the Worlds. But yeah, finishing up on these guys, Davey Bada and Aiden Horn rounding out the A main. I think that's really good result from Bada. It's he's from California. I don't know if they went to Hot Rod for practice. Could be, could not be. From what I've understood, like he's a stock guy to begin with. I think sort of running stock at any point of your career and coming up from stock, it's a very different driving style and very different technique you develop along the way. Can't say if that helps or hurts your dirt racing when it's really low grip. Definitely makes like throttle control maybe a bit more difficult. But then again, it could help you because with stock you rely on corner speed, so maybe something that helps. Either way, I was pleasantly, I can't say surprised, but I was pleasantly like, it was pleasant to see him out there in top 10 because I feel like he's one of the most promising talents from the West Coast in terms of 10 scale. Of the young talents, Rivkin obviously from the West Coast, but of the young ones. Yeah, apart from that, nothing too much. Maybe one thing worth pointing out was that Tom Runecknet moved to Schumacher for this year. Did not make either one of these mains. Zalewski, Polish racer, really good on carpet. I have to say, really struggled here. Can't now see where he finished in two wheel, but in four wheel qualified in the C. Yeah,
28th, yeah, 8th in the C
yeah,
final.
yeah. So, tough run for some. I wouldn't say there were many surprises, like surprises. Koki Kato, I'd say I expected him to be close to the main. 7th, maybe a little bit better than I expected, but not like, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he made the main. I wouldn't have been surprised if he made the main, and he did. So, very unsurprising results. Maybe Donnelly is the only one that I'm like pleasantly surprised at how good he was, and it's interesting to see if he's able to perform on this level at the Worlds, or what that will do to his career. Because yeah, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's move on to the mains. I'll bring up some video again. We can see of this, but yeah, Will, you can take it away if you have something interesting
kind of.
about four wheel. I think pretty similar story though to two wheel.
Yeah, it was to be honest, it was a pretty similar story, at least for the top two. So there was Donnelly and Rivkin. The same thing again. They both had a first and a second, and it looked like Donnelly got it done in the last main. It looks like actually there was a few. He had a bit of a lead in leg 3, but yeah, it looks like he had. I think it was the same. I have a feeling there was a crash or something that happened. But again, I can't remember where. Maybe we'll see it in a video when it pops up. But yeah, Donnelly got second in A1, and it was actually Marcus that got the win in leg 1. Marcus always seems to surprise me because even on surfaces that he's not traditionally like raced on, he's done, like he qualified second. I know we haven't spoken about him much with his performance here, but yeah, he's come in and finished second. Even at the last Worlds, he made the main in both classes. So he's showing that like he's not just a high grip guy. He's also really good on dirt, and I believe he doesn't race on dirt much often. But yeah, I mean, anyway, it was in the end, Donnelly got the win. Spencer got second. Looks like he got it first in A2 and then second in A3. And then I guess Chase Lemieux finishing third. Like a good showing from him. He qualified 6th from the grid, so he's made it back up to 3rd. I know Chase also came to the Australian Nationals, so I think he made the main in both classes then, but obviously the Worlds Warmup, this is different. So I think for him to come back and bounce back from two wheel and get a good solid result here, third at the Worlds Warmup, that's nothing, to sort of sniff about. I think it's a good show for him. And then, like you said, cover Bacon 4th. And then Marcus looks like he actually won leg 1, but he had two rough. He had a rough A2 and A3, finishing 6th from both. So, and then yeah, Michael down in 7th, and then Ari, Davey, and Aiden sort of wrapping up the lower end of the grid.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of went through a lot of it. Karup, yeah, we haven't talked about him a lot, but he had a rather underwhelming Worlds Warmup. He won this main that actually we're looking at right now, the A1. But apart from that, there wasn't much that he really, succeeded on here, unfortunately. 6th in A2, 6th in A3 as well, 5th overall. Lemieux, obviously the big sort of up and comer on this list, coming from 6th to 3rd. Yeah, I'd say, I guess Donnelly again proving that he can win. even after losing again A1 and A2, and Rivkin strong second, just like in two wheel. I guess the only sort of thing that was surprising that Mikhail had such a tough run, third in A1, and then ninth and 10th in A2 and A3. So something clearly went wrong for him in the last two A mains. Then looking at the rest of the field, everyone else pretty much held their spot except for obviously Karab, who dropped down, and Lemieux, who went up, and then Kogi Kato got in front of Orlowski. But other than that, it was very surprisingly small changes in these positions here when we look at this. Yeah, I don't know what else to say for four-wheel drive. It was top two both classes. Spencer Rivkin, as we've stated before, Donnelly is a real factor for these worlds coming up. It's tough to say anything more than that for the worlds. Orlowski looks strong. Four-wheel drive is a bit weak. But other than that, they had a new car, as I was going to visit right after this. Yeah. One question I had in my notes: what would it have looked like if Fend was here? Because the top X-ray guy here was, I guess, Lemieux or then Ari Bakla, whichever. Ari Bakla obviously Australian, but then again, generally not the top AE guy. Lemieux, he's unfamiliar with the surface, and he's not the top X-ray guy either. So would have been really interesting to see Fend here, especially in four-wheel. I think Fend could have won four-wheel. Two-wheel, I don't know, could have been maybe. He would have definitely been in the fight, but in four-wheel, I think he would have taken a win. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think that's a valid point there. Especially like back at the Hoodie Arena Worlds, he was. I mean, they had a new car then, and like he was basically on it. I mean, he only just lost out, and he had a new car then as well. So I guess you could say, I think now, especially now with, I think it's safe to say X-Ray is definitely one of the best four-wheel drive cars out there. I think it would have been good. I think it's also another fair point to bring out. Brock wasn't there. There's also there was a few other guys. I mean, I have a feeling Mayfield might be coming to this world, but I mean, I personally wouldn't say put him as a factor because he just hasn't done much term scale. But there's also no Cavalieri, but I mean, I'm not sure if Cav would have been that strong here. But there's obviously a few other guys that obviously have just gone over my head now that would have been, I think that would have been up there. So, but I think Fenn would have definitely been a factor and a contender for sure, like 100%.
Yeah, I agree on that, and I think one thing sort of maybe we could say here is Rivkin looks to be the strongest going in. I think sure Donnelly won both of these, but this is his home track. They will have at least 2 days of running before the mains at the Worlds. So I'll say this now that based on what we've seen, Rivkin is the favorite going in both classes, two-wheel and four-wheel. Karab definitely has more potential than he showed here. And even if we look at any of these other European Championship he's won and so on, he's never looked like favorite at the warm-up. It's only until the race actually comes, and not even qualifying. It's the mains that really bring out the best of him. So I think Karab will put in a much better performance when it comes to the actual event. And even here in four-wheel, he won this first main. So it will be interesting to see what will happen. when it comes to the actual worlds. But obviously, anything can happen. That's how it always is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Rivkin. Probably I feel like he's a safe bet to say he'll win. Oh, he's been there twice. He's also won 2 worlds in the last few years, so he knows how to win a worlds. I definitely think as well, just the worlds will just be different. Even obviously it's the same track and it might be same conditions, but it's still, when the world's just different and the stakes are high, like you just act different at a worlds, I feel like. So, and obviously like these guys that have experience being in worlds A mains, even Kirap, like he's been in the world's final, so he knows what to expect. I know Donnelly hasn't, but I know he's obviously got the experience, the home track experience, but it's whether maybe he has the driving maturity to be able to, if he, to be in a world's main, like leading a world's main, I'm sure is a lot different to leading a warm up or even just a normal race, like for sure, because the stakes are so high. Like, so that will be a lot of pressure as well. But I think, what you were saying, Spencer's probably in the best position to win. But obviously I know guys like Marcus, like he just has so much talent where I think like he'll just come and, potentially have a really good showing. And he's been at events like EOS's, MKGPs and Euros where he knows that even in those finals when it matters the most, he knows he can win. So I think he'll be really strong. But I think it'll be interesting to see when everyone else comes over. Like I mentioned, Brock and loads of other guys, which at the moment I just can't think of in my head. So that's why I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really good Worlds to watch, and obviously to be there, I think it's going to be really good as well.
Yeah. All right. I think this covers our warm up, race recap, and we'll move on to the rest of the show. We'll try to keep this brief. We have a little treat for you guys at the end. But before that, we have the upcoming races segment brought to you by Sidewinder Fuels. Morgan Fuel has been collaborating with many of the world's top drivers for 35 years. This has enabled us to test our fuels in many of the most challenging situations and take the development of competition fuels to the next level. The result is Sidewinder, the market's most powerful racing fuel. This fuel is track tested and proven by national and world champions, including Brian Cavalieri, Ryan Mayfield, Greg Degani, Mark Pavidis, and the latest Fi Long Yuan. These drivers appreciate that Sidewinder is blended perfectly for the high performance need of competitive racing. Don't let victory slip through your fingers. Purchase Sidewinder today. Thank you to Sidewinder, another long-term sponsor of this show. Be sure to check out their fuel and order some for yourself. Upcoming races next weekend, or this weekend rather. Oh wait, is this next weekend?
I think it is next week.
Silver State. Canas will be there. Pretty much every top name. Right after that, week after that, Philippine Masters, Ongaro going, Infinity Team going, bet a lot of the Australians are going. It's going to be a really big race. But also on the same weekend, April 30th to May 4th, we'll have the International Buggy Challenge in Portugal. If I'm not totally wrong, Keenan is going there, but I could be wrong as well. It'll be one of the biggest races. One of the biggest races again. Obviously, Ongaro not going because he'll be at Philippine Masters. But other than that, most of the top Europeans should be there. Then we move on to May 2nd to 4th. J Concepts Indoor National Series, Spring Carpet Nationals. In RCE1 Racing, Macomb Township, Michigan. In June, we have from 6th to 8th, round 3 of J Concepts Indoor Summer Nationals Midsummer Carpet Nationals at Island Speedway, Muscatine, Iowa. June 6th to 8th, FR18 Electric Off-Road European Championships in Valladolid, Spain. July 1st to 5th, Nitro Off-Road European Championships in Barcelos, Portugal. And then at the end of the year in August, round 4 of the INS in Hobbyplex, Omaha. And then round 5, finishing Indoor Nationals finals at Hoosier RC Hobbyplex. Oh, wait, there's 2 Hobbyplexes? Hobby Down Hobbyplex Omaha was round 4, and round 5 for Hoosier RC Hobbyplex in the New Albany, Indiana. I didn't know there were 2 Hobbyplexes. But
Yeah, there's more than one. I think it used to be under the Hobbytown name, but yeah, there's a really big Hobbyplex, and then I think there's a Hoosier RC, but I didn't realize Hoosier RC was actually Hobbyplex as well. But I mean, both those tracks are epic. My buddy who's in the States in the moment, Darren Windsor, a lot of guys will know him. He's trying to drag me to get to the INS finals, and I really want to go, but because the Worlds are so close, my wallet can only stretch so far. So
yeah. Either way, lots of races this year. Definitely need to update this a bit. There's also European Championships, as we will have the first ever A-scale electric off-road Worlds in Portugal, Barcelos. I'll most likely be there. And we'll be doing some great content with Keenan. I think it'll be a great event. Pretty sure most of the guys will show up, and at least I hope most of the guys will show up to have that. Now, to end the show, we have some gossip from the Worlds, as there always is. Worlds Warmup. We'll be brief with this, but we'll get you guys sort of the most interesting bits. I know this first one is something Will is contractually obligated not to reveal anything, because it's the AE four-wheel drive. Team Associated has showcased a new four-wheel drive car at the Worlds. Let me bring it up for you guys. Here we have it. AE has four-wheel drive car. Obviously here you can't see much. Body shell, much more shaped like a B7. It doesn't have that usual four-wheel drive wide front end. It's more sleek in the front. Here you can see another view of the car. Let me see if I can zoom it up even more. You can see these blue front hubs. This is how you can recognize it. Another feature, roll bar really low down here instead of having it up here. I don't know how different it is geometry-wise. Certainly there's some differences, but the biggest difference obviously is the body shell, very slick looking, not as wide in the front as sort of the other cars. In the rear, I could be wrong on this, but this looks like a B7 rear tower. So definitely very interesting there. It's hard to say from this angle how wide the pin width is, but I'd imagine they would use the same philosophy as they have used for the B7 two-wheel drive. I don't now know which one this would be called. Would this be called the B8, or what would it be called? I think looking at this angle, it looks like the pin width is much more narrow than the old car. And here you can see sort of the much sleeker style of chassis. I don't know. I would like to see a up-top picture of this, but it looks much more like a V shape of the chassis and the body shell where it aligns to. Yeah, seems to follow sort of the B7 design philosophy. Everything really down low. We don't really have any better pictures than this. But I'd expect narrow hinge pins, both front and rear, and then following the similar design philosophy as the B7. Yeah, interesting stuff. Will you want to say something, Will?
It could be a new car.
I didn't put it on the screen.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about. Could be a new car. Could maybe just be a new body shell. Could it be photoshopped for all I know. But maybe the word on the streets is, I believe it's 2 weeks, or whatever the saying is. That's all I'm gonna say, I'm afraid.
Obviously, we're contractually obligated not to speak about it, but there's another brand Will could speak about that has a new car. Back in the day, let me bring us back here, just the two of us. Back in the day, there was one car that was really silent, and it was always Schumacher. Yokomo tried the belt-driven cars, and they was a little bit more silent for a while, but they went away from it. And now, from what we've seen, the final soldier, as to speak, has fallen. Let's bring this one up. This is a spy shot, very grainy at that, of the Schumacher. What would you call this? L2, L3? I don't know what you would call this. A shaft driven.
Well, it was the L1, but I assume it'll have a brand new name.
Yeah. This would be a shaft driven 4-wheel drive car from Schumacher. I don't know. Silent 5 seconds for belt-driven cars. Okay, that was almost 5. We can live with that. But yeah, I doubt that Schumacher would bring a car of up to this level of finishing to the track unless they had decided that they would go away with the belt. Now let's look at this car on track. It has definitely a lot more different than lot more difference than just the belt, because obviously new gearboxes have to come with it. Looks like a new shock tower, both front and rear. To me, it looks like the arms, hubs, everything looks the same as before. So no real differences in there. Rear shocks clearly very stood up. And it'll be interesting to see more, because I think the sort of most interesting bits of this car will be inside, under the body shell. Obviously, they have gone for a little bit lower placement of the anti-roll bar as well, not as aggressive as the AE. As I said, uprights, arms, all that good stuff looks similar. New chassis, new gearboxes, new shock towers. Probably something new in the geometry as well. But yeah, what you think of this, Will? Now you can give your full opinion on this one.
Yeah, I know Schumacher, they've always had the belts, and they had the not the LD, they had the KF2, and I think was it the KC, I think it was kind of their last car before it went to lay down. And I think they kind of bit the bullet. I think not just for performance, but I think it was just people in the past. I think being truthful, if you don't know how to set up belts, if you're a beginner, it can be pretty hard to make sure you have it set right. It's probably a bit more fiddly. So I think a lot of people always blame stripping belts, but I personally never had an issue, but I think, so they went to a gearbox for obviously the 2-wheel drive, and I think that's kind of been the way forwards. I think the 4-wheel was a bit different. It seemed like it was fine, and I think it still is, but from what I kind of understand, I think they've kind of reached a point, and it seems that they've tried a traditional drivetrain, let's say, and I think it's kind of looks like that's the way forward. So I think I think Schumacher have always known for having belts, and people always blame about it, but I think it's as long as you got it set up, like the touring cars run it, it's absolutely fine. But I know off-road is different, but I think it's about time. I think it'll be interesting to see how they do, because it'll be their first generation of a like a shaft drive car. Like I think like it took Schumacher a while with the LD1, LD2, LD3. Like LD3 now I think is a really solid platform. So it's obviously I think this is all just like for Schumacher pretty brand new just by nature. So but obviously it's looked pretty promising at the warm up, especially on low grip, which is where I would have at least expected the Schumacher to do well. I don't mean that as I was expecting Schumacher to do absolute crap, but I always know Schumacher is just more suited, let's say, for high grip, but I think they're starting to lose that a bit and starting to be better in all conditions. So it looks good, and obviously both Michael and Kovacic have done well. I'm not sure if Tom had a car. I think he might have, but yeah, I think I suspect these guys will have the car. Most guys will have a production car for the Worlds, but so it'll be interesting to see if all the team guys will have it, and then obviously if it will be a released car by then. I mean, but obviously that they have the car at the warm up, they can't be that far off. But I'm sure they'll want to make sure it's a solid platform before it's released. But I guess the other option is like, would you want to release a full production car before the World? So you release something and then, there's nothing stopping like X-Ray, for example, to buy that car off the shelf and examine it and see if it's better, like why it's better. But so it'll be interesting to see, I think.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be released to production before the Worlds. And that being said, Schumacher. Yeah, I don't know. I think the reason was that they were the best four-wheel drive, maybe a year or two ago. The L1R or whatever, it was the best four-wheel drive up until I'd say last year. The latest X-Ray car with the very stood-up shocks and they changed a lot in the geometry of the car. Not so much anymore because there was that time where they changed the diff cases and the chassis and whatnot. But they changed a lot in the geometry, especially the suspension geometry last year around for X-Ray. And I think that Zalewski being better than Orlowski. Coelho won the Euros last year. And Burak won the EOS with an X-Ray. Yeah. So I think it's fair to say that X-Ray has reclaimed the best four-wheel drive status they had. Let's say 2017. I'd say 16, 17. X-Ray was the best four-wheel drive, hands down. Nobody even came close. Then it kind of went to Yokomo for a while. Then it went to Schumacher for a while. And I think X-Ray's reclaimed that. And I think Schumacher kind of has maybe the philosophy is that we've reached the peak of the belt-driven car. There is a definitive issue with the belt drive when it comes to, smoothness especially when you come off power, there's a lot more friction in there. Whereas the shaft-driven cars, it's much more free off power. So there is a definitive difference in that, in the way it handles on and off power, especially off power, but somewhat to on power. Maybe they felt that they reached the limit. Maybe they felt that this is better for marketing and performance is just as good and maybe even better. Who knows what the real reason is? I think belt-driven cars could have been good as well, especially on carpet. I think belt-driven is still better because you can align the motor to be with the direction of the travel. But either way one it is, I think it's not a bad move for Schumacher. I think they'll make a good car for four-wheel drive, be it shaft-driven or belt-driven. And I think both can work in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree. I definitely agree with that to a point. I think on carpet, for sure, I think the L1 for a long time, it was definitely either up there with the X-Ray or in some points maybe a little bit better. But I think being honest, the X-Ray was always kind of better in all conditions. I mean, I've never driven either cars, but that's what I'm assuming from everyone else. It looks like it's just always been strong in both scenarios. But so Yeah, I definitely agree with the drivetrain thing. I've always wondered, like, do they have to run, like, for example, more initial power on the speedos to try and make it feel like a shaft drive, or is it just, or do you kind of just deal with it? I don't know. Like, I guess a lot of people like drag brake, but I guess that's down to personal preference.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I ran for Schumacher. Obviously, that was way before the L1. It was still the K2 era of Schumacher, and it's definitely much stiffer. The whole car has to be much stiffer because you can't flex longitudinally because then you belts would start to skip. So the car is much stiffer altogether, and then also when you let go of the throttle, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't roll as much. You can't play with drag brake that much. Even if you took drag brake off, you would still have quite a bit of drag brake. It's not that free after all. So I don't know. It's different. On carpet, I definitely prefer the motor being rolling in the same direction as the car's going. But something to play with. I think both can work, as I said. I think we're gonna end it here. It's been nice. It's been a great time. Went for almost 3 hours, not 4 hours. We kept it together. A few tangents. I think pretty good tangents.
Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah. Once again, thanks to our sponsors. Title sponsor G Concepts. Thanks for bringing the show to the people. Thank you to our premium sponsors: High Tech RCD, Sidewinder Fuels, Latera Racing, Invisible Speed, ML Toys, and Sidepiece Racing. Thank you to the rest of our sponsors: Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Racecraft USA, and Clinic RC. And thank you to the drivers: Runfall Pate, Hagberg, Matty G, Pekko and Yona, and Mason Fuller. And, the best for last, the NNRC squad. We love you guys. Keep up the super likes, keep up the Patreon subscriptions, all of that stuff. Keenan's got a family to feed. That money goes to Keenan, goes to buying stupid RC boats and Power Wheel stuff and whatnot he does these days. But keep supporting the show. Keep making it possible for us to keep the show going. So thanks, you guys, and you have been doing that already. So thanks for that. Do you have anything to say, Will?
No, just a huge thanks to everyone for tuning in and all the help and support from everyone. And I hope everyone kind of enjoyed this podcast. But me and Max we didn't go on too many tangents. Actually kept it fairly tame for once. So obviously, stay tuned. I'll actually be at the 8th scale Euros with RCTV. I hope to be at the 10th scale Worlds, obviously. So if you see me there, by all means, feel free to say hi. And hopefully, see everyone at all the races.
Yeah. It's still new, you and me doing these podcasts together, but I think we've been getting better and better each time we do this. I've seen some positive comments. I've seen some people say that they like this better. I don't know if they're just saying it to make us feel better. But either way, I think it's fun. And it gives Keenan a free week. He has a lot of things to do these days, race commentating and all that kind of stuff. So, gives him more time to be creative with his craft. Again, thanks to all you guys who watch this stuff, who support us on Patreon and are our YouTube members. Nitro is the glory. E-Buggies pays the bills. I almost forgot my line. Nitro is the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. What does Kina say? Keep grinding, keep smiling.
Keep
peace
something
and love.
like that.
Yeah. Peace and love to everyone. See you next time out.
See you in the next one.